like and subscribe. Who was the worst teacher you've ever had? I had a relatively young teacher who had clearly peaked in high school and was back to hang out with the cool kids. If you were popular you got away with anything, and if you weren't, you could see the pain on his face when he had to give you some of his time. The guy also liked to go to high school kids' parties and creep out on the girls. He was everything I aspire not to be. I'm deaf and wear 2 hearing aids. As punishment, my grade 3 teacher used to take off my hearing aids and make me sit in the hallway alone. Edit, answering a few questions. This happened in 1988. This was just one of many sadistic punishment techniques she used. She did this several times. I don't really remember how long it lasted since it was 26 years ago, but my best friend told my mom. I didn't know it was even wrong. I trusted the authority of teachers. I can't even remember what I did, but I know it didn't take much to set her off, and she also absolutely loved singling kids out in class and embarrassing them. She would dump the contents of your desk out in front of the class, and make you clean it up, while everyone watched, if you took too long getting out a book or pencil. Once we had swimming lessons and afterwards I couldn't find my underwear, but I was so afraid of being late that I just went commando and later tried to whisper to her that I couldn't find my underwear. She yelled out in front of the entire class, "You're not wearing your underwear." Her name was Mrs. Baron, and in the 5th grade I won a writing contest about the evil Red Baron who got shot down in the skies by Ace, a top dog fighter. I got my revenge through the pen. Oh, and my bulldog of a mother. Her nickname was Miss Shrieky, because her last name sounded something like Cherokee, and she was infamous for shouting a lot, hence the nickname. She shouted and belittled just about every child. Once, she was assigned to take our class to their swimming lesson at some leisure center, and when we got there, I found out that I had forgotten my trunks. When I told her, she yelled right in my face, "You stupid boy," and treated me like I was the dumbest person on earth. Another time, I had to go to the staff room to give her a message. I knocked on the door, knock, K-N-O-C-K asterisk. She yanked the door open and began screaming at me for knocking on the door 3 times, ranting and raving about how you're only meant to knock on the door once, and she told me she was going to shut the door, and that I should knock on the door again, properly. She shut the door, I knocked the door once, and she yanked it back open and something like, "Now, what is it?" And once I told her whatever the message was, she slammed the door in my face. She was right. When I lived in South Africa, we had corporal punishment in school. I had a math teacher who had it out for me. He'd cane me for offenses like bad handwriting. One time I got 98% on a test, beat everyone in the class, including his favorite or favorites. Result: he gave me 2 licks anyway. Why? So next time I wouldn't miss the remaining 2%. I had a history teacher who was a major to everyone. There was a guy who was born on February 29th, and this teacher constantly bullied and harassed him. This teacher said, "Oh, you're only 4 years old. No wonder you're so stupid." What do you know? That guy ended up leaving the school in the next few weeks. Anyway, I aced all the exams, and I ended up with a big fat B. "Very poor book decorations," he said on my report. It was history class, not fine art class. What do you know? I thought it was going to say he ended up becoming the president of the United States or something. Edit. Yes, I get it. Street lamp Lanús. And Albert Einstein. I had a teacher in freshman English who would give the girls bonus points and extra credit for wearing short skirts to class. He also was guilty of some pretty consistent touchy, caressing, grabby personal space violations with them too. It wasn't until I was older, and he was out of the school, that I realized how wrong it was. Oh. You just reminded of this northern teacher we had. If a girl in my class happened to need any assistance or direction of any sort, he would reach under their arm, brushing their breasts, and then grabbing the mouse, and then commence teaching. It was extra creepy. Let me help you there, Jody. Yeah. Top banana. H&M. We had a business teacher who said he was a big fan of group learning, so he would put us in groups and make us correct our own homework and teach each other while he spent the class time gambling online. We all failed business. My pre-modern history teacher at 6th form was a bit of a tyrant, but also shocking at teaching. At the start of the year he dumped a 4 centimeters thick pack of handouts on everyone's desk. The instructions every lesson were continue to read and highlight. The guy would go mental any time someone spoke, moved or even looked up from the booklet. He threw a dictionary at the guy's head when he asked for a definition. Thankfully, he was sacked after the incident. Edit. Typo. My 8th grade French teacher. I'm not even sure she spoke French. She usually just put on a movie, usually in French with English subtitles, sometimes not if she couldn't figure out how to change the language, and it was almost always Finding Nemo. I learned nothing in her class, except that there is a limit to the number of times someone can watch Finding Nemo before going insane. Edit. Apparently a lot of people have had a teacher like this. Good to know that I'm not alone. Edit 2. Also, Muzzy seems to be quite popular among these other French teachers. I now have the mental image of a bunch of seagulls going mon. 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 I had a teacher in 7th grade technology class, which was essentially a bull classmate, so we would have some basic idea of how basic things like an engine and a battery worked. Anyways, the teacher for that class legitimately didn't do anything all day, would openly hit on this one kid, and one day just cussed out the entire class about how terrible we were, and how we should all go ourselves. She was almost immediately let go. On the plus side, we got a really chill long-term sub who let us watch movies for the 2 remaining months of school. Edit. One of my friends came over and reminded me of this gem of a detail. She came back the next day and tried to continue teaching the class despite her termination the day before. They had to call security to get her out of the building. My 3rd grade teacher hated me, told me on more than one occasion, "You are poor white trash, you will just end up in prison." I wish I didn't have to waste my time on you, and I'm not wasting my time teaching poor white prison trash. Figure it out yourself. I told my mom, the principals, the counselors, no one believed me at all. I remember getting in with a teacher because I got 100% in a test. Apparently, I embarrassed the other kids. If only I was that smart now, I wouldn't be playing on Reddit instead of work. Grade 8 English teacher. You know how every kid says to their parents, "My teacher just hates me," when they get a bad mark? This actually, I swear to this day, was really true. This teacher really just truly hated me, and I have no idea why. I wasn't a troublemaker, I didn't talk in class or make smart comments, he just didn't like me for no reason that I'll ever know. Anyways, we had these journals that we had to turn in every week. One week I didn't get mine back, and he said I got no marks for my journal because I didn't turn it in, except, yes I did. He called me a liar and said I would have to purchase another journal and just turn in next week's assignment. Oh, we couldn't just use regular journals, we had to have these special stupid ones that he insisted on for some reason, because I tried to hand in the next assignment on paper and he refused to accept it. For a few weeks I kept asking him to return my journal, and he kept telling me that I was a liar and getting zeros for my journal entries. I was afraid to ask my mom to buy me a new journal because my parents used to be fairly cheap, and I thought I was going to get in for supposedly losing it. So one day when my teacher left the classroom to go to the bathroom, in front of the entire class, I marched over to his bag, rifled through it, and found my God journal. I turned it in the next week with a journal entry, and he never said a word about it. But that wasn't even the end of it. Shortly after that we had an essay assignment. I poured my heart into this, and on the day we got our marks on it, he came into class and loudly proclaimed in front of everyone, "Another F chaos cat. I don't know how you can turn in work like that. You are now failing the class." I was beyond mortified. I literally ran out of the class crying. It still upsets me to this day. For anyone who is wondering, I'm not bad at English. Despite possible bad grammar in my Reddit posts, I've maintained a solid A average in all 8 English classes I've taken through university. So take that grade 8 English teacher. TM. Doctor, my grade 8 English teacher hated me and tried to deliberately fail me. My 4th grade math teacher murdered his mother. So there's that. Edit. If you want to read messed up stories about other murdering teachers, check the comments to this one. There's some. Ed up. Down there. I had a teacher that seriously thought that, since we were a mostly black and brown class, it would be like one of those dreadful white teacher comes in and teaches everyone the value of learning movies. It went about as well as you'd expect. How do I reach these keys? Well, Mr. K was one of my absolute favorite teachers ever, but undoubtedly one of the worst. He was a sophomore history teacher, and the summer before, my mom had passed away. I was in the library one of the first days of school that year, and he approached me and very bluntly asked if I was the one whose mom had died this summer. I said yes, and he told me that his mom had died that summer as well. We both kind of stood in sad silence and then walked through the school back to his office and talked about how school was kind of bull and pretty hard for both of us to take seriously at this time. Throughout the year, he would let me bribe him with hot tamales from the vending machine so that I could have class outside. He would let me go and take time to be outside, and really nothing could have been more helpful. I ended up having to leave that school halfway through my sophomore year for other reasons, but having to tell Mr. K was pretty devastating. We were both sad, but I didn't really have a choice. He was the only teacher I went back to visit once I went to college. Thanks, Mr. K. Even if I didn't learn a god thing. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck.